Australia for a series of performances in Melbourne and the Hunter Valley beginning this weekend. Dame Kiri performs to raise money for her foundation, which provides scholarships to aspiring singers and musicians. Dame Kiri to Kanawa is speaking with Scott Bevan.
Dame Kiri to Kanawa, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
In one of the biographies about you, the renowned conductor Sir Colin Davis, a great fan of your voice, said of you, Kiri remains her essential self. What or who is your essential self?
I don't know. I think what is I suppose it's just basically no bullshit. I take absolutely whatever I do is, it's open mouth and insert foot sometimes, but I do tend to tell the truth. And sometimes that can get in the way, as you know. It's not very good to be truthful in this world today. You've always sort of got to skirt around things. There's the so-called PC thing that's going on. And I get sort of tired of the PC, get to the chase and say how it is. But that's a little bit, I suppose that's essentially me.
When you look back now upon that, making that enormous journey to the other side of the world to continue your career, to really kick your career into another sphere, when you look back, how big a risk does that seem?
It was a big one. But then we sort of followed Joan Sutherland too, because she was our sort of spearhead, top of the mountain. So we followed her, and so it didn't seem so daunting because she could do it. we felt, foolish and young and foolish, we could do the same.
When did you meet her and talk to her about that?
Well, when I got to London in 1966, I had the opportunity to meet her and her husband, of course, Ricky. And then I sang for them, and then they told me I was a soprano, and then I sang in some concerts and some recordings with her in the early days. So that was a wonderful experience to be with her. And she was the same old Joan as she ended up being the same old Joan. Once again, she was herself.
To use your term, no bullshit?
Really no bullshit, yes.
In terms of your career now, I've read where you may have retired from opera. No, you haven't. Can you clarify for us?
Well, it's very interesting. You have no recourse. You cannot go back to a reporter and say, look, this is all not true. So the best thing is to shut your mouth and just keep going, because it can prove them wrong. It's the only way to do it. And the more you protest and the more you say, or try to counter what they're saying, the worse it gets. So the best thing to do is just prove them all wrong. And if you're singing well, you're singing well. If you're singing badly, you're singing badly. But I remember when I sang the Capriccio in New York way back in wherever it was. The reporter just reported, well, that will be your last one. And that was the end. I mean, basically, I could not get away from it. And they said, well, this is her swan song. She's out of here. Well, then I did Vanessa. Not long after that, 3 productions of Vanessa over a 5-6 year period. Then I started my foundation, and I started doing more concerts because I wanted to raise more money for my foundation. And so I got busier and busier. Now I start doing master classes and teaching and back to raising money for the foundation and back to concerts and back to all this sort of thing. So I basically have sort of stepped it up just to prove that if you want to retire me, have a good old go at it, but it's not working.
So no retirement.
I mean, I might need to retire. I mean, the most people, they say, well, where's the off switch? For God's sake, get the hook and get her off the stage. But at the moment, I'm having such fun. I really am. I'm working with wonderful, wonderful students. I mean, really the next generation of student. Very, very exciting. Always raising funds for the foundation, always helping wherever I can. And it's so interesting now. The thing is, once again, you're dealing with other sorts of things like, academia and institutions and hugely bad teaching. I can't tell you. Not that I'm a teacher. I know what I'm doing. But the thing is, I see teachers teaching young people that should not be taught that music, or young people that shouldn't be singing or singing the wrong things. And I'm watching a lot of that. And I sort of want to write to the institutions, and I'm thinking, stay out of it, shut your mouth, and just get on with what you can do, because otherwise you're making waves. And the most important thing is to put your energy into the young students, which is what I'm very interested in. I have 2 wonderful New Zealand Maori boys at the moment that are really coming through.
You make singing sound effortless as well as joyous, but just how much, for those of us with untrained voices, how much strain does it put on the voice? How much extra pressure does your voice feel, and your memory for that matter, to remember all of this?
The memory was now I'm 67. It's getting things are fading away, and you sort of tend to forget a few things, which is not. I don't like that very much. I'm always terrified of losing my mind, my memory. But as to the voice, as I get older, the strength will go down because my body strength will go down.
Lyndon Terracini, the artistic director here of Opera Australia. Now, this is a problem that has never beset you, but he's reportedly said he wants more people who look right for the role. He wants people who look fabulous, look wonderful.
I hope they can sing.
Well, he wants people who can sing, who can act, and
he
look
wants it all.
wonderful.
Okay.
He wants it all. In fact, he was quoted as saying, if you're seeing a couple making out and one of them is obese, who wants to watch that? And it got me thinking, how much is now looks, the visual, becoming ever more prevalent, ever more important in what is an oral medium and listening to a beautiful voice?
Well, I think it is important because visual is important. And I mean, I think it's a certain amount of pride in the person, really. If you're proud of yourself, you will look good. But if you've gone to flesh, as my friend would say, then maybe, you should think about not being so big. Some voices some bodies need to be big for big voices, but it is a challenge. And basically, when I'm looking at voices, I must say, or listening to voices, I will go for the voice first. But then I look at the body, and I did it to a young man the other day, and I said to him, where does your weight come from? And he said, well, my mother, and I love to cook, and she loves to cook. And I said, can you do anything about it? Just trying to gently say to him he has got to lose weight. It is a stunningly beautiful baritone voice. And he said he would. And then, of course, I saw him a few months later, and he had lost weight. And I went up to him, I said, you're looking good. And the face is slimmed down. I said, you really are looking good. Please don't ever go up. If you hold at that level, that's fine. But if you're starting to go up, make sure it always goes down. Always best to be losing, never to be gaining. And in my way, I've never been small, but I always find that if I'm hungry, I'm fine.
Generally in society, though, are we becoming too obsessed with matters like this?
Well, we are, but then that's society. It's like everything. I would hate to be really, really overweight. It would really distress me. And sometimes when I've gained 10 pounds, I feel really, really miserable. And I sort of make sure I just go back down and I make sure I lose. But the thing is, there is always a problem because people are now looking more visual. As I keep on saying, they hear with their eyes. And that's the sadness. But the thing is, big voices, if you've got a stunningly big voice and you hear it and it's glorious and it's on a big body, sometimes it's, you can forgive a little bit.
In Australia, you're doing both indoor and outdoor performances. How do you have to reshape both your voice, as it were, and your performing style for those vastly different sort of venues?
Well, it shouldn't have to reshape at all. It's just when indoors, I love indoors because you can use the indoor acoustic and it's more intimate, whereas the outdoors, people are having a more fun time, and they're having their picnics or their barbecues or whatever they do.
Do you have to compete with that?
I'd like to hope I don't. I remember the one time I was in one of these places and it was really quite horrible that they walked in with a bottle of wine and a cigar and sat in the front row swinging on the bottle and smoking the cigar. And I thought, this is slightly disrespectful. So I hope I'm not going to see it. I don't think it was here, but I just thought it was just a little bit too much, a little bit too laid back.
Where in your heart do you call home these days?
Well, I'm a New Zealander. I was born in New Zealand, and of course, eventually, I hope to go back there and sit under the palm tree if we have one. But I have a huge life in England as well. I do all sorts of wonderful things. I'm not very social, but I have a wonderful life there.
Dame Kiri Kanawa, thank you so much.
Thank you.